Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another Women of Horror Spotlight. Today, I have with us, she's the writer and director of a film that's in pre-production right now, and it's called Indigo Hour. I have with us today Kai Brown. Kai, welcome to the Horror Room.
Hello. How's it going, Travis?
It's going great. It's going great. A long day, but it's going great. So tell us a little bit about Indigo Hour.
Yeah, so Indigo Hour is a script that I wrote last summer. So this summer, as it's been the same time, I've been sort of remembering writing it and being immersed in that world. But anyway, it is a neo-noir supernatural thriller with a female protagonist who she's a grad student studying criminology, and crimes start happening. She starts seeing this ghost type thing, and she thinks she can solve this mystery, but as she thinks she's doing that, she just starts spiraling into this world of not being able to tell what's real and what's not real.
And I had a look. I had a chance to see a little bit of a trailer sneak peek of it, and it looks amazing.
Oh, cool.
Now, what gave you inspiration to write this film?
Oh, that's a great question. It actually started as a totally different movie with a different premise about like pre-sensing people's intentions. And then in that story, there was this thread of this attacker, which just felt like it wanted to be its own story. And I was most excited about writing that. So I pulled it out and was like, okay, what if I let go of that bigger premise and focus on this? What kind of world builds around that? And then I've always wanted to make a feature neo-noir. So more broadly comes from that.
Now, right now, to be a indie filmmaker,
yeah,
I'm not saying it's easier, but it's a lot more. It's a lot more accessible. It's a lot more achievable with the technology, crowdfunding, and when it comes to like distribution, they're a lot more acceptable of accepting indie films. But what are some challenges that you have ran into so far that most individuals who are watching right now, who are thinking about writing or directing their first film, that would be a complete surprise?
Oh, that's a good question. I think first and foremost, I want to say just go for it. Like if you have an inclination to write, shoot something, just do it. Figure out a way to make it happen. I started doing that about 8 years ago, and it's the best choice I ever made.
Love it.
Yeah. That being said, kind of like you were saying, it's much more accessible in so many ways, and there's still some obstacles, particularly around just getting visibility, because there's so many cool projects out there. There's also so many different ways to hear about things and promote things and know what's happening in the indie film world. Figuring out how to tap into your potential audience, that's probably the biggest challenge for me.
You just wrapped up your crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Now I've talked to a lot of indie filmmakers, and that's tough because there's so many crowdfundings out there. There's so many for audiences and supporters. There's so many different options to choose from, and where to kind of put your money. So what were some strategies that you used with your crowdfunding?
Oh, that's a good question. So we ended up going with Seed and Spark, and they do a really deep analysis of your story, your page, what you're building before you even launch. So we felt pretty confident going into it. And then the producers on the project, as well as the lead actress. So the producers are Nikki Carmella and Alexander Thomas of Eternals. You interviewed them back in October. Great interview.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then our lead actress is Nikia Palombi. All three of them are very social media savvy in ways that I am not. So they were great about tapping into the audiences they already had, coming up with different strategies. We also started an Indigo Hour Instagram page as we were doing this and just kept feeding people there and adding things like our visual inspirations, like a record spin of the day, because records play a big part in the story. I think those are the big ones. And then I also am part of a indie comic imprint. So I write comics too, called Apollo City. Yeah, and the guy that runs that, he also has a podcast. So he was nice enough to host some Instagram lives with us, which was helpful.
Love it.
Yeah.
And you said that records are so important in this movie. Now, something that's been missing. So I'm an 80s kid, right? And I'm, got a Friday 13th shirt on. Yes. Now the score and music was so important at one time in horror. It built the tension, it built the mood. And it's something it seems like a lot of filmmakers have gone away with.
Mm-hmm. It's a great
Now, when
movie.
you were making your movie, was that something that that you felt was important, or the score, the music, the soundtrack?
Yeah, so I'm a huge music nerd separate from this. I
Me too.
love music. I can think about it, talk about it all day long. So I knew even when writing this that to kind of ground it in that noir tradition, I wanted a jazz score. And then to make it even more part of the story, the main character is a drummer. So she plays jazz drums. And then
Nice.
she and her kind of surrogate dad, adopted dad, bonded over collecting records. So records also play a big part in the story. So kind of got all different diegetic, non-diegetic music weaving in that I'm really excited about.
Can't wait to see. Now, when you're in pre-production right now, and then do you have any filming locations, or are you planning on filming on the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest?
Oh yeah, so the story takes place in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and a little bit in Detroit. And so I think our plan right now is to shoot 2 weeks there in Michigan and then a week in LA in studio space. We might end up flipping that. We'll see, just based on what budget we're able to come up with. But yeah.
I was going to say Detroit's a rough city. I've been to Detroit two times,
Okay.
and I live in Baltimore, and Baltimore is rough. But I've been in
Baltimore.
Detroit, and I was like, holy shit! I was like, it's a different breed here.
It really has its own aesthetic to it, and I think it'll create a really interesting backdrop, particularly like just these stretches of abandoned houses, and that plays another role in it. So
I agree.
yeah.
So what made you decide to get into horror filmmaking? Because I've been a horror fan my whole entire life, but I've never ever made that jump and like, you know what? I'm gonna make a horror film. I mean, this is the closest thing to a horror film that
I love it. Yes.
So, yes, but what made you decide, like, fuck it, I'm going to make my own film?
Oh man, I've just been writing and shooting stuff since I was really little, and then as soon as I knew what horror was, I was like, this is my genre. Thriller is my genre. So I even shot something when I was maybe 15 on a camcorder and used like negative flip for the paranormal stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's just been something I've always loved doing. And then, like I said, almost a decade ago now, 7 years ago now, I just decided I want to start making stuff again and see if I can get it out there. So I've made a few thriller shorts with a little bit of horror in there. And then for this one, I just wanted to write something that I would be excited to go see. And I love going to see horror movies.
Horror movies are the best right now. I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there. I haven't, like, I still want to see Maxine. I'm a huge X
I saw it today.
Pearl.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen Pearl. I skipped it. But I saw X and Maxine. And yeah.
Pearl's great. You need to go back and see Pearl. Yes.
Yeah. Have you seen Longlegs yet?
I have not, and that's out too. I'm looking on social media, and everybody's seen them. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
I usually go to the movie theaters quite often. I've taken a couple month break, and I'm like, damn, I need to get to the movie theaters as soon as possible.
There's a lot of great stuff. Yep, especially horror this year. There's been like 4 or 5 good ones.
I know. I'm like, damn. I'm like the two, but Maxine was the one definitely going into this year that I had. It was number one on my watch list. So I'm probably going to get out there this weekend and do a double feature.
I was just going to say double feature it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it tough? I mean, the horror industry is majority male populated. Is it hard to be a woman horror creator? And because I feel like the stigma is, a woman horror creator makes women horror movies. Is that tough to kind of stay out of that stereotype? And also,
that's interesting. Yeah, I tend to write female protagonists just because that's what I know, but I never think of them as being like female movies. They're very much for anybody. Is it tough? I don't know. I feel like the film industry in general is more male dominated, so it doesn't feel any different to me from that. And then for the most part, everybody's been really accepting and excited to partner on things. So surprisingly, no. I'm actually surprised that my answer is going to be no.
Okay, that's a good answer. Good answer. because I like for me, like as a horror movie audience, I mean, watcher, like I can almost tell, I would say 75% of the time, I'm like, oh, a man definitely directed this or a woman directed this. And it's just by how the opposite sex talks, acts, and is portrayed.
Sure. Do you think it's different in horror than other genres, or do you think that's the same? across.
I think it's different horror than
More specific. Yeah. That feels
because it's
possible
to the
me.
extreme. It's like to
Because
the extreme.
character types are
when
so
it comes to
far.
that.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right. So growing up, you've always been a horror fan. What was that first horror movie that made you fall in love with horror? It's a two-part question that made you fall in love with horror. And what's the first one that really scared the shit out of you?
Same answer for both. Silence of the
Okay.
Lambs. I think I'm gonna count that as horror. I saw it when I was way too little, and my friend was over, and I was in the basement watching it, and she had to leave in the middle, and so I'm watching this little kid, and I thought I was home alone, and so I'm like making my way between rooms, like turning on one light and going back once it's over, and all of a sudden I get upstairs and I turn on the lights, and the lights just go off, and I fall to the floor screaming, and I guess my dad was home and I didn't realize it. And for the next 3 days, those night vision goggles, I felt like somebody was watching me the whole time. I was terrified and I loved it because I was like, that movie made me feel just these emotions and senses and intensities of sensations that I'd never felt before. So.
And it's a movie that still holds up. I mean, 2024. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just because a lot of people say The Exorcist. That's most people. I would say that's the number one answer.
Is it?
And
okay.
I'm like, but The Exorcist doesn't hold up as well. You know what I mean? Over the years,
right? Because I feel like Silence of the Lambs has the mind games part to it too, like in a way that. Good movie.
Now I remember I went to see. So I was a huge Silence of the Lambs fan, and and then I went to see Hannibal when it came out in theaters. I want to say I was in college at the time, but I knew I was out of high school, and like that just had a different flavor, different tone to it. It didn't have that eerie feeling that Silence of the Lambs had.
Yeah, and same with Red Dragon. Was it Red Dragon? Was that the third
Red
one?
Dragon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's actually kind of going back to your earlier point. I feel like Silence of the Lambs is very much from Jodie Foster's perspective, whereas the next two were more from his, I think, or he was more central.
Hannibal was definitely it made him like kind of more the focal of the movie.
Yeah. Whereas when he's just kind of moving in the background, it's creepier, I think.
Exactly. It really is. All right. Kai, as you know, this is a horror channel. So I'm going to ask you 3 random horror questions.
Okay. I'm a little nervous, but let's go.
All right, let's do it. All right. The first one. What is a horror movie series that you are tired of?
Oh, tired of? Oh, Halloween.
And I love Halloween. And the original Halloween is my favorite movie.
The last couple.
Yeah. It's just like between the Rob Zombie and this. And I'm like, okay, Halloween needs a break for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, Halloween. That's a good one. Okay, the second question. Which horror movie villain do you feel like they could switch? Well, they actually did it recently with Pinhead. They made Pinhead into a woman. What's a horror villain that you feel like you would love to see as a woman?
Oh, I love that question too. I kind of want to say Scream, the original.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've asked that question many a time. I'm sitting there like thinking about who would I like to see.
Yeah. What was your answer? That's a hard question.
Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger. I mean, and the reason why is that's so cerebral. It's just attacking someone in their nightmares, and like I feel like that would be portrayed by a woman excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. Or now that we're talking about it, why am I drawing a blank? Candyman. That'd be interesting.
Candyman would be great. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep.
By the way, Candyman is the first movie that scared the shit out of me. Like I've watched many horror movies.
The original.
Candyman. Yeah, the original. I watched a lot of horror movies before then. Candyman, as a kid, scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. What'd you think of the remake that came out a couple years ago?
I hated it. I hated it. I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
I actually have a video about how
Oh, do you? Oh,
how
I'll
much
find
I
that and
hate it.
watch that.
Yes. Yeah, I just felt like it wasn't Candyman to me. Like, I mean, I get where that story was coming from. I get the climate
Sure.
it was released in. It's just that, like, I don't want politics in my horror. If that makes any sense.
Yep. Especially like classic horror. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 I came to see somebody say Candyman in the mirror 3 times and him slashing and killing. You know, that's what I came to see, and
Sounds right.
I got something completely different. The final question. So you've probably put some gnarly kill scenes in your films, as well as you've seen some gnarly kills in movies. What's one kill that you can think of off the top of your head that you're like, oh hell no, I wouldn't want to die that way?
Oh, I wouldn't want to die that. This is probably a cliche answer, but Psycho shower.
Stabbing naked in the shower.
Stabbing in the shower, like, oh, yep. And anytime I watch that, because I like to watch that now and then, it's a good week where I'm just kind of in the shower, like making sure nobody's there.
Yeah.
When you really think about it, being stabbed while in your, it sounds awful.
It does sound awful.
Yeah.
But I feel like an attack while you're naked.
Yes,
in
your, well, I guess a hotel, but, or, where you feel comfortable enough. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, even as a guy, if I was walking around naked, I mean, I now gotta, if it was a intruder coming out, now I gotta fight him naked. I feel like I had too much stuff hanging out.
And there's water running, and you can slip, and
yes. All right, bonus quick question. I'm gonna hit you with a bonus question. What is one horror movie that everybody says that they love, and you're like, I don't see it. I don't get why people like this movie so much.
I don't know if I have an answer for that one. It's not a horror movie. It's a noir. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I have tried to love it across various stages of my life. Brick. I feel like I should love that movie. It came out in like 2003, maybe?
Yes, I saw Brick. Yes.
Yeah, and it was, all the rage in the indie noir scene, or just the indie scene. And I watched it at the time. I think I was in high school. And didn't really get it, but I felt like I should get it. Same thing like several years later. And then I did it again this summer with a friend because we were like, we feel like we should be into this. I still didn't get it. So that's my answer. Not horror, but noir.
I feel the same way about Terrifier. Terrifier seems like a movie that I would love. It seems like a movie that I would absolutely love. I love over-the-top gore. I love the slasher. And I love a creepy villain. But I don't like it. I don't know. It's just not my taste. Which is weird because I would think that I should love Terrifier. I love creepy clowns. I love killing. But there's something about the original Terrifier that doesn't do it for me at all.
Which almost feels more personal, right? Because it's not just some random movie that you don't like, but it's one that seems like you should like it. And it, on paper, it has all the right things. And then it's just like, what am I missing? I don't get it.
And horror fans say it's the greatest movie ever. And it's an indie horror film, too, that it became mainstream. And I should love it. I should absolutely love that movie. But
no.
And I'm telling you what it is. And I've said many times. It's the story. There's no story. It's just like...
Just gore.
I mean, there's no story at all. It's just running through, blah, blah, blah. There's no build-up to what the villain is. There's no build-up for who the characters are. It's just like, I mean, listen, I'm not a huge Friday the 13th fan, but at least there's some kind of story. You know who the villain is. You get a little bit of who these camp counselors are in this particular film. You get a little bit of story. You get some nuggets. Terrified gives you nothing. It's just runs right through, and you're watching at the end like, okay, what the fuck just happened? I don't know. Yeah. Who's this clown? All right. So, Kai, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so you can follow Indigo Hour and our filmmaking journey on Instagram. It's at Indigo Hour Film. And then I'm also on Instagram, Kai Media 24.
Awesome. Listen, when Indigo Hour comes out, if you could send me a screener, I would love to. I would love to watch it and have you back on and actually chit and chat, because this seems like a movie that I definitely want to see.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. That would be amazing.
No problem. No problem. All right, listen, everybody, look out for an Indigo Hour. And once again, if it's a crowdfunding coming out, please let me know because I like to donate to all of my guests.
That means a lot.
Yes. All right, everyone, please follow Kai Brown on social media and look out for Indigo Hour. Everyone, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's Kai Brown. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.